Hello and welcome to year 6 of Cavernclan. This is something I wasn't sure I'd be able to make or not, just because I lost almost everything to do with Cavernclan. It was like a repeat of Gus Clan and it was rough. I still had the clan, but everything I had done to get ready for year 6 just decided to up and walk away. Like, I lost the art that I did, I lost the audio stuff, programs were giving me issues. It was just one thing after another. But thankfully, all of a sudden, I managed to get everything to work just right, and I managed to find what I needed. And now we have year 6. So, if you haven't seen any of Cavernclan before, I recommend starting at the beginning. I will get the playlist of the last couple years linked in down below. But the rest of you who have seen Cavernclan before, welcome back, and I hope you enjoy year 6. It was definitely an interesting year, and I can tell you that the next year and so on, there's gonna be so much happening. Like, things are spiraling. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So, like usual, we start off with Red Star. She goes through the motions this year, leading as she always does. She does face a wave of grief once again when 2 more of her kits are killed. It is due to the fact more cats have died at the paws of the neighboring clan that she finally decides to declare war on them. The war only lasts a few short moons before both clans call it off, neither truly being the victor in it. She spends the rest of the year occasionally sparring with her different clanmates and listening to all of their ideas, most of which leave her rolling her eyes. I believe the most common suggestion from the younger cats, usually the kits and young apprentices, was to share their prey with the neighboring clans, which Red Star was not too impressed with because they just finished a war with those clans. So she's not quite understanding their thought process behind that. But anyway, that is Red Star. Next is our lovely deputy, Branch Holly. With the way life has been going and the war that gets called, Branch Holly gets a moment of inspiration and creates a new legend for the clan based on recent events. The rest of the year is rather stressful for her as she works to create efficient patrols and avoid unnecessary deaths. There are times she feels lost and ends up confiding in Daycrawl for advice. She wonders at times if she even wants to stay in the deputy role, as position of leader isn't as appealing to her as it once was. And towards the end of the year, she ends up in a fight with a dog in order to keep it away from the clan camp. She barely managed to survive and gains multiple scars from the altercation. Despite this, she shows her strength as she recovers and continues to be there for her clanmates. She even starts to develop a crush. Or rather, several crushes. The she-cat, there's a few she-cats she's found herself drawn towards, and those are Nutella, Striped Tooth, and Applebat, all of which you'll hear more about later on. So unfortunately, for the next 2 cats, these guys, I have no footage of drawing them. This is one of the cases where, the stuff I made just decided to up and walk away. So I did try and record it, but apparently I decided to only save the last 5 minutes as I was finishing up the last few details, and that was it. So unfortunately I have no video to go with this one, but I hope you'll enjoy hearing about them anyway. So first up, we have Daycrawl. For the first time in moons, a medicine cat apprentice finally becomes a full-fledged medicine cat. Daycrawl is a bit embarrassed by how much encouragement and positive attention she gets from the rest of the clan in celebration of this fact. Unfortunately, the very next day, she comes down with a runny nose. And then everyone kind of wonders for a second if she really will last too much longer. But the rest of the year also brings about a lot of trials for her as she has to tend to the most injuries she's ever seen due to the war. It also leads to her performing one of her most challenging tasks, an amputation. Despite her constant work, she does take breaks to spend time with her clanmates and decompresses from the stress her role entails. She even goes so far as to surprise Thistleblur with a little gift to cheer her up. All in all, she takes the year in stride and manages to remain a calm and steady force for other cats we have Shardpaw. The year starts off with another new addition, which is her. She was a young kit at 4 moons old when she was found abandoned and brought back to camp. They give her the name Shardkit, and Daycrawl works tirelessly to help her back to health. Due to this, Shardkit is also then often seen trailing after the medicine cat. It doesn't surprise the clan when they've discovered that she was abandoned because it seems that her hind legs are paralyzed. Despite this, Shardkit doesn't let it slow her down as she learns about clan life and is determined to become a warrior. Daycrawl isn't so sure this is a good idea, but the young she-cat refuses to listen. Once she reaches 6 moons, Red Star does allow her to become a warrior apprentice, believing every cat should have the chance to follow their dreams. Excited, Shardpaw is determined to prove to everyone that she can handle this role. But after a few long moons and frequent visits to Daycrawl, she eventually resigns herself to the fact all she can be is a medicine cat herself. Her spirit remains strong as she switches roles and focuses on learning herbs as much as possible to keep her mind off of her disappointment. However, she does face one last challenge in the fact that she loses one of her hind legs during the war due to an ambush and accidentally stumbling into a 2-leg trap. I realized after I drew it, the amputated leg is the one that's actually hidden by her tail. And the idea is that it was like a trap that was set up to catch a wolf, a bear, those kind of traps. And unfortunately, it ended up doing a lot of damage to poor Shardpaw because a young cat is, not going to handle that as well, so to speak, as the animals that they're designed for. But on the plus side, I guess she didn't really feel anything considered she's paralyzed in the back legs, so it was a mess, but she, didn't have to go through all the pain. So, there's a little bit of a positive spin to that, I suppose. So she unfortunately had to stay with Medicine Cat life, but at least they are allowing her to work in the clan and do what she can. And I'm excited to see where things go for her. Also, I did use a generator to roll in the last couple months of the year to see if she would stay warrior apprentice or not. She was dealing with a lot of pain through the years, so I ended up deciding to roll and see how long she would endure the pain of trying to be a warrior until she had realized she just physically wasn't able to. So now this she-cat is full of opinions, which Nutella isn't afraid to share, and she will share any and all thoughts that she has, regardless of what or who the subject matter is. To her, Volslash is acting stuck up and rude, and she thinks Finchpaw will make a good warrior. But then she complains about going on a dawn patrol and bristles at Poppypaw and hisses at another cat who simply happens to just walk by. Several times through the years, she's also overheard swearing to herself to get revenge. But no one can figure out what she plans to get revenge for, or even why she's out for revenge. So, everyone's a little lost with her. The only cat she seems friendly towards most of the time is Branch Holly, and, as it turns out, she actually has a little bit of a crush forming on the deputy there. Thistleblur starts off the year with getting heatstroke and being kept in the confines of the camp until she recovers. This gives her plenty of time to eavesdrop on other cats and offer advice to anyone who will listen. One cat she also is seen spending a fair bit of time with is Snake Bounce. The two are becoming close friends while she acts condescendingly towards Nutella on the other hand. Other than that, not much happened in her life for this year. An easily distracted cat, Woolslash is often found not doing what she was tasked with this year. She finds herself wanting to try swimming, and then the next moment is found climbing trees instead of performing her duties. And then another moment she's found chasing a bug around the camp clearing. No one really knows what to expect from Woolslash or where they'll find her next with how scattered her thought process is lately. It's thanks to this that some cats have come to resent her, and others find her amusing and fun to be around. So yeah, she wasn't really up to much this year, she was just deciding to be chaotic. And it was quite amusing actually seeing all the stuff she was getting into. And then we start off with Snake Paw, who becomes Snake Bounce. Upon hearing of an impending war, she trains extra hard to be as ready for it as possible. There's a few times she's seen limping around due to pushing herself to the verge of too far, but it all pays off when the war is declared. Due to her impressive agility in the battles, she's granted her warrior name, which is in honor of her agility. As a new warrior at the end of the war, she's become a bit more of a serious cat after all the death and darkness she witnessed. Her tolerance for slacking is very little and tends to complain if any cat she sees is doing so. So, as you can imagine, she's not a big fan of Woolslash right now. She's actually quite annoyed with Woolslash majority of the time because she doesn't think Woolslash is taking her role seriously. But, hopefully she learns to loosen up and enjoy life a little more. As an ambitious kit, Poppy Kit often tried to sneak out of camp right around the start of the year, only to be brought back by patrols, and at one point even was brought back with juniper speckled in her fur. Despite being caught, she's thrilled with her new adventures every time, and always plans to sneak out again. When she becomes an apprentice, she's overflowing with excitement, but manages to keep calm and is given Barry Howell as a mentor. She also is glad to have Snakepaw to look up to, and follows her around to learn the ropes of being an apprentice. She was also fairly sheltered from the war due to being such a new apprentice. Snakepaw especially made sure to shield her from most of it, and so Poppy Paw never saw very much of war or death or serious injuries all that much. And at the very end of the year, she manages to become a full-fledged warrior. During the ceremony, she barely even pays attention to it. Rather, she's observed that Nutella has begun acting strangely, but isn't sure why just yet. And the warrior name she earned was Poppy Flick. So, this precious girl has grown up, but I am quite curious to see what Nutella is up to based off of what this young cat has observed. Dally starts off the year whining about clan duties and spends her time goofing off and pulling pranks on the other she-cats. Despite this, she is thankful for the safety of living in a clan with other cats. But during the war, she suffered a terrible injury that took one of her legs. After this, she decides she's had enough and retires to the Elder's Den. From that point on, she goes around offering advice, surprising others with thoughtful gifts, and spends time daydreaming. Now we move into StarClan. First up we have Mouse Knight. She did her best to look after her clan and is proud of the cat Daycrawl becomes. She also has a need for vengeance against the bees she finds having yet another nest near the camp, and goes off to get rid of it, this time managing to not get injured in the process. But even she wasn't able to avoid the fate of all medicine cats before her. While out collecting herbs, she ends up assassinated. Her death was the tipping point that led to the declaration of war. And one little fun fact about her is that she wouldn't take no for an answer when cats really needed healing. She actually dragged Apple Bat into the medicine cat den to apply a salve onto her tail, because this was before her tail was completely dealt with. And, Apple Bat tried to protest and whatnot, but Mouse Knight was just like, nope, you're coming with me, and she just hauled her in there. I think if she'd been a warrior, she would have been a pretty formidable opponent. But either way, even as a medicine cat, she did pretty good. As for Barry Howell, she interacted with all her clanmates quite a bit at the very start, offering advice to the young medicine cat and checking on the kits before heading out for a morning stroll. And she had a lot on her mind lately that she needed to sort out. But while she was out, she caught the scent of a dog. Blood running cold, she realized it was attacking one of the apprentices. Bolting in their direction, she doesn't even hesitate to throw herself into the fray and attacks the dog as fiercely as possible to save who she sees is Finchpaw. It's an intense fight, but she eventually manages to lead the dog away. Racing along the cliffs that are part of the territory, she soon finds herself approaching a dead end. Nothing but hundreds of feet and a sheer drop down into a gully. She makes one last valiant stand against the dog, managing to get the upper paw just enough to send it flying over the cliff. However, its jaws clamp down on her leg and takes her over the edge. Barry Howell dies trying to save her clanmates and is forever hailed a hero by. It was a tough blow for Apple Bat when she had to have her tail amputated. It takes some time to recover, but eventually she learns to accept her fate. While healing, she'd help the medicine cat collect herbs, but is quite glad when she's given the all-clear to return to her regular duties. She's a vital part of the war and often sports new wounds from protecting her clanmates in the battles. Despite this, she never lets it dampen her spirits and is always seen with a smile and offering advice to others. She even begins to form a small crush on Branch Holly as well. While out sunning herself and recovering from her latest injuries, she hears something even more unsettling than the cries of battle. Glancing down from her ledge, she sees Barry Howell being chased down by a dog. She immediately jumps to action and takes off after them, eager to help her friend. However, in the move that sent the dog off the cliff, she watched in horror as Barry Howell began to get dragged down as well. She rushed forward to try and save the other she-cat, but she loses her footing as she stood on some loose rocks and flies off the edge along with her. As an overeager apprentice, Finchpaw winds up getting a runny nose and sprained paw from time to time. Her thoughtfulness and hard work are noticed, and others do their best to look out for her since she doesn't take care of herself as much as she should. As she gets closer to her warrior ceremony, she went out for a moment to practice reciting the warrior code. It's due to this that she didn't realize a dog was approaching her until it was too late. She attempted to fight it off, but it was far too large and strong for her to take on by herself. She died due to the severity of her injuries. At the start of the year, Loner was brought back to camp and given the name Stripetooth. She quickly takes on the role of being the cat to cheer others up with her encouraging words and smile. She fights alongside them in the war, and only a few moons after it ends, she's found dead from a snake bite. So unfortunately, we didn't get to know her too well, but she was there, she helped, and now she's in StarClan. And lastly, we have Ben. Ben is a she-cat that used to be a kitty pet. She was only 8 moons old when abandoned in the wilderness by her 2 legs due to having gotten sick. The clan takes her in, but unfortunately due to a broken heart and the sickness being so far spread, she dies not long after. And I wonder kind of if the 2 legs had kids and they were the one that named her Ben, because just it's kind of funny that, being a female, she was named Ben. But that wraps up year 6 of Cavernclan. So thank you guys so much for your patience. I'm sorry this took so long to get out. But here it is at long last. The poor clan is still struggling. I have played ahead a bit, and all I can say is you're not ready for what's about to come. I think it's going to be a little bit quiet, but then there's a storm coming, and it's going to just throw the clan for a loop. It's going to be chaos. But I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too, and that you'll stick around and come back for year 7 and beyond. So, thanks again for stopping by. If you want to keep getting updates about the clan and see where things go, then make sure to subscribe. And I will see you guys again next time. Bye!